Matt Delvecchio here, specializing in life transitions, elder care planning, and the senior living industry.
And I'm Corrie, a clinical social worker and author of Someone Died, Now What? For those of you who don't realize that today is not only October 1st as the date in a calendar, it is also National Seniors Day. I'm going to turn this over to Matt because it's Matt's bread and butter and what he lives, eat, and breathes. So here he is to talk more about that.
Well, yes, happy National Seniors Day to everyone, and kind of timely for this segment. A segment on the second half of Life Unrehearsed that we call Helping Mums and Dads, talking about challenges of the sandwich generation, worried about your own kids and maybe your folks. And we wanted to address the ever-growing subject of elder care planning. You know, as our population ages, families and their loved ones have to deal with some challenging decisions. Add this to a healthcare system that really is stretched to its limits. Corrie and I, we've talked about this quite often on Life Unrehearsed. And how do we navigate and obtain services in the public system? Questions like, what are my private options? And what if I need a service that isn't even offered in the public system, like mobile healthcare services and blood tests and physiotherapy? It goes on and on. What if we want to get a home assessment so we could age in place longer? Well, let's bring in Kirstin Bennett to help us out. Kirstin is an elder care planner, certified health and wellness coach, and has also served many years in the home care industry. Kirstin provides support and guidance for families and their loved ones throughout the aging process and navigating their life transitions. Kirstin, welcome back to Life Unrehearsed.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, especially celebrating the Older Persons Day today. It's wonderful.
Yes, in the age of politically correctness, seniors is now apparently not the right word, and it's going to be older persons is what people are saying. So, does it make sense? I'm not sure. Everyone has their opinion on it.
I just think it's all the same, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Kirstin, we love having you on here because you are a wealth of information. You're dealing with families all the time. Let's just start and back it up a little bit. What is elder care planning?
Right. So fundamentally, elder care planning, like you mentioned, it covers the navigation of the broader network of public, community, and private professional resources and services, products, and basically support systems for older adults and their families. And essentially, elder care planners are facilitators. We provide comprehensive and knowledgeable advice to source out information. We collaborate in creating a game plan. We provide encouragement to keep that plan moving forward through some guidance and accountability measures. And it can also involve assistance with transition support to either age in place or better understand the options for downsizing, what are their care options, or sometimes system respite planning, hospital convalescence discharge planning, could be health and condition-specific research, some advocacy, a lot. But for me, really, what it will incorporate always is the many aspects of aging well. And it actually can be done proactively as a plan for future circumstances, kind of similar to financial planning, I would say, and it's making your choices known. For me, that's really important for people to talk about, but most commonly we're called upon when there's a problem at present with an older family member.
Fair, and I hear you loud and clear, and I think obviously what I loved about what you were saying is the gold standard, of course, is to do it in advance and to understand someone's wishes. Of course, we know that life doesn't always work that way.
Right.
In keeping with that, I would be curious as to what are the biggest needs that families that you speak with, what as their family members get older and are perhaps in need of more assistance, what are those, what are you hearing?
So really it comes down to four basic needs. First off, they typically need information, about resources and services. It could be disease process, and again, how to prepare for future events, and what can they do now, and what should they plan for in the future. Secondly, I would say that they often need emotional support, some guidance, someone to listen to them and not judge them. At times, even about family issues that can make situations trickier. Next, I would say the actual services is a need. From what are services available from the public, from the community, or from the private sector. they need to be guided towards local, trustworthy, and reliably sourced service providers. And finally, I think, the other thing that is sometimes an issue is budgeting help, other ways to finance services. It's important to have a financial snapshot, know about the possible subsidies or tax credits that are available, and just consider the options accordingly. So those are the main 4 needs.
Listening to Life Unrehearsed with Matt and Corrie. That's the voice of Kirstin Bennett. Kirstin is an elder care planner and a certified health and wellness coach. Love how you broke down those 4 points, which, as you're talking, information, we need all that. And you do get hit with a lot of questions because no family is the same, Kirstin, with their specific needs. But you're dealing a lot with caregivers. And sometimes and many times it's even tougher on the caregiver than the actual loved one. So what would some of the key factors that family caregivers need to consider to help themselves and therefore help the ones they love?
It's a really, really good question. Primarily that it's okay to have support, to ask for help. Kind of like it's the analogy of putting on that oxygen mask first before you put it on somebody else. And basically to learn that there are services available. Many people wonder why, they didn't know about them before. So that's key. To talk to others about what's happening, especially to other family members that aren't in it like day to day. Sometimes there's a primary caregiver, and sometimes other family members don't really know how much this one primary caregiver is doing. And I would also suggest not to try to be a superhero and can burn out, because, it's really good to talk to somebody who will be non-judgmental and just listen. Everybody has their own story, and it helps to have somebody who's going to listen to yours. And also I would probably say, something that would help a caregiver is just to have some clarity around what their ideal situation would look like. I mean, we can't always get it done right away, but we can work towards that goal in little steps. And if I had to say probably the most important thing on that note would be to add that people forget to recognize what they've already done, their efforts and their little wins, and, that they can offer themselves a bit of self-compassion and essentially realize that whatever they are doing or have done, no matter how small a step, even reaching out for assistance, for example, is one more step closer to finding a solution or a resource that will help improve the quality of life of their loved one.
So I love what you're saying. Everything certainly for me makes perfect sense. But I imagine that there's resistance from both the family, the individual or couple who are aging out, or the family. And I think we're going to talk about that in the second half. But so I want to get there. So we're going to take a very quick traffic update, but I want to hear some universal tips that all of us can do right away, because I know you have them. I know you know them. So we're going to hear that when we come back. We're talking with Kirstin Bennett. She's an elder care planner, a certified health and wellness coach. And I am going to pick your brain about some tips that both Matt and I and all the people listening on this show can use right away to help with elder care planning. No pressure then.
No worries. There actually are a few recommendations that I see that come up, that are needed with most of the consultations. So I suppose, I would say, even with the initial calls, when we don't even do a full consultation, sometimes people call. And the number one thing that I would say, no matter what, is to advocate. Advocate for your loved one and for yourself. If it doesn't sit right or feel right, ask the questions. Don't be afraid to ask those questions. But be friendly, but firm in your quest for answers and options. So I would say that would be tip number one, for sure. I would also suggest, really to start the conversations early, even if the subject matter is difficult, because sometimes it takes a while. So actually plan for these conversations, take the time to have them, have someone, even like an elder care planner or trusted friend or a GP assist with these conversations. A third-party person assisting with this sometimes makes them easier. I would also suggest determining, when you're in the caregiving situation, determine who plays what role. Because sometimes there's more than one person taking on that role, and it's good to complement one another and know that you don't have to do anything and everything, I should say. But like each person, even there's some sibling who's far away, they can still play a part to support the family members in this journey. And I think finally I would suggest just to remember when making decisions to include the person or persons in question in the conversation. Even if your family member has some cognitive issues, they often understand more than they can express. So, giving choices, like, would you be more comfortable with this or that? This will give them a sense of control, which is often what makes them wanting to not talk about stuff. And, they feel they're losing this aspect of their life. So to be, and to be honest, without a protective mandate or a power of attorney in place, like, ultimately it is their decision. So my suggestion would be just to talk with them, not at them, or sometimes even if they're as if they're not in the room. So those would probably be my top tips.
Excellent tips from Kirstin Bennett. She's an elder care planner, certified health and wellness coach, and that's here on Life Unrehearsed with Matt and Corrie. Kirstin, great ideas. I love the fact that it just can't be a one-way street. Try to get communication open with caregivers, with loved ones. One of those potential communication gaps, and this is quite common for Montrealers, where they have family members that may be living out of town, and they want to contribute to this elder care planning process. So what do you suggest in those situations?
Well, honestly, I'm happy that you say this, because it's kind of, the elder care planning is kind of the ideal service for that situation. Most of what we do together can be done virtually, so it doesn't really matter where family members live. As an elder care planner, I'm able to stay in communication quite easily via email, Zoom, merge calls, so that everyone is on the same page and feels involved in the collaboration. And if there are services that require me to be on site and the person is out of town and they want to be a part of it, well, we either plan according to that out-of-town sibling's visiting schedule, or if that's not possible, we even do FaceTime so they can participate or stay involved from wherever they are. So as long as there's a willingness to participate, everyone can play a part.
The technology that, as it is, and how easily accessible, it makes it so much more doable. So all that you're doing is fantastic, and somebody's listening to this and they're thinking, well, gee, I'd love to know more about it. So if somebody wants to engage in your services, what is that process?
Well, it's actually pretty simple. We're really actually trying to make this as easy a process as possible. So really, it can start with a free initial call. There's no obligation. We gather a bit of background information and determine if the services I offer can be of help. So that can either be done, it can be booked through Calendly on the website, or, just giving us a call. And then if we determine that it's the services that can be helpful to their situation, the first step is typically to set up a discovery consultation. So this is typically virtual. In certain cases, it might be in person, but we can do it virtually, so it's easy. And it lasts about an hour when we discuss the current situation. We do sort of a needs assessment. We determine what the short-term and possibly long-term goals are. And I can get a better understanding of what sort of everybody's roles are, how they play out in this situation. And we talk about a few immediate ideas to assist with any kind of urgent circumstances. And then typically, the discovery consultation is followed up with a personalized written support summary that reviews all the outcomes of the call, offering some resources and a bit of a game plan of what the next steps could be. And to help move it forward, and during the consultation, we sort of determine a way, sort of a follow-up. Often it's email. Sometimes, it's a call, but for email, sometimes it's best for busy caregivers. And I do a little check-in and see how things are going and progressing in a positive way. And at that point, it's completely up to them. If they would like to continue with some one-on-one coaching, planning, when there's more of an ongoing supportive need requirement, we can help with that. Sometimes people just go on and say, this is exactly what I needed. I appreciate you listening. You've given me some ideas, and they go from there. But when you hire an elder care planner, we're basically here to listen, to find some quick resources if needed. We could do some safety evaluations at home if necessary. We provide the guidance and coaching support. Someone in your corner, So just give us a call, and we start with that initial sort of call just to see if we can give you some assistance.
It's refreshing to hear, Kirstin, and because, elder care planning, it is an evolving field, a rapidly evolving field as our population ages, and it's nice to know that elder care planners actually exist and it's out there. So we want to thank you again, Kirstin, for all your words of advice. We're going to have you back on. We could talk so much more. First of all, how can our listeners get a hold of you?
Right. So thanks, Matt. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Corrie. You can book that free initial introductory call via Calendly. It's an online booking service on the Lianas Senior Transition Support website. And you can find further information on the service and other great services as well. But you can just give us a call at our number, and we can get the ball rolling.
All right, Kirstin, thank you very much for joining us. That's Kirstin Bennett, Elder Care Planner, Certified Health and Wellness Coach. All right, Corrie, what do we have coming on next week on Life Unrehearsed?
Next week on Life Unrehearsed, anyone remember Inspector Caluso from the Pink Panther? Well, we have a real-life private detective who's going to share some wild stories about what he does and how he does it. And the World Alzheimer's Report was recently published, and it's really unbelievable. Two of the co-authors are based right here in Montreal. So we're going to be talking with Dr. Serge Gauthier and Claire Webster.
Yeah, we can't wait to have them. I did a pre-interview with both of them this week, and this is a really big deal, this World Alzheimer's Report. It's around the world, and it was McGill that was publishing it and just recently published it. So if you know of anyone directly or indirectly from suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia, you'll want to be listening in next week on Life Unrehearsed. So thank you for tuning in. As a reminder, for all your inquiries or assistance with life transitions, elder care planning, and the senior living industry, be our pleasure to help. You could look us up at Lianas Senior Transition Support, or call us at 514-622-8074. And many thanks to our technical producer, Max. Great job. You can listen to Life Unrehearsed here on CJAD 800 every Saturday at 3.